Ready? Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. This is the meeting of Jefferson Township Board of Trustees. Special meeting. It's Thursday, August the 26th, 2021. The time is 11 p.m. or a.m. We do have a quorum present. Would you all stand for the pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time, I'd like to have a moment of silence on the military, firefighters, road workers, sheriff deputies, as they serve our community here and abroad. Thank you. Roll call, Ms. Edwards.
Trustee McGuire.
Present.
Trustee Mann.
Present.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Present.
Okay, at this time, we're going to go into a public hearing regarding zoning issues, and I'm going to hand off this part of the meeting to our zoning administrator, Justin Olszewski.
This is the Jefferson Township dangerous property hearing for August 26th, 2021. It is 11:02 a.m. At the beginning of July 2021, 26 properties were identified as dangerous for the purposes and intent of removing structures through the Land Bank's Demo 2.0 program. The following 24 properties continue to be identified as dangerous. 1 Bricker, 17 Davenport, 105 Bricker, 113 Bricker, 127 Bricker, 146 Infirmary Road, 151 Infirmary, 195 Davenport, 201 Calumet Lane, 211 Infirmary, 221 Bricker, 228 Knox, 228 Lansdowne, 233 Infirmary, 245 Albers, 251 Infirmary, 255 Infirmary, 288 Lansdowne, 301 Bricker, 317 Parsons, 337 Parsons, 401 Knox, 6046 West 3rd Street, and 6756 West 3rd Street. The Jefferson Township Fire Department has inspected each property and determined that dangerous conditions exist at each location and has ordered their removal. All property owners, lien holders, and statutory agents, as listed with the Montgomery County Auditor's Office, have been contacted regarding today's hearing in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 505.86C. Trustees, you have in front of you or in your packets, you have pictures of the properties in question. You have the county records from the auditor as well.
You get that?
Just give them an email.
It's sent to you by email?
The 90-some pages of it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I'll look at it out in print.
Yes, and also a copy of each of the notices of today's hearing was included in that as well, which that makes it almost 100 pages for all of that.
Okay.
And then if you want to open it to anyone speaking in opposition of the findings, that can address the trustees about the property. I believe we have one of the property owners from 6756 West 3rd, is that correct? For that, and then any other properties that someone's speaking in opposition.
Okay, when you address the trustees, we need to have your name and address for the record. So just- Yeah. Name and address for the record so we know who's speaking when we do our minutes. Go ahead.
Charles T. Ball, 11743 Connersville, West Carroll Road. That property up there belonged to my mother and father, and they passed away. One died 4, one died 12, and it was just willed to us. And taxes have been paid on it every year since 1977. And it's boarded up, it's boarded up from the inside. You know, we had a little problem with the squatters and stuff, and they live under bridges and everywhere, you know. And I drive a truck, and my brother does, and we don't have a lot of time, but I mean, I try to keep the grass cut right around the house, and we still use the garage for storage in the yard.
Which address is this?
6756 West Third Street.
Thank you.
And my oldest brother, John, he's got some stuff stored in the house, I mean, but it's, you know, I just don't feel it's a fire hazard, or there's no gas turned on in the house, there's no electric in the house. You know, I just don't feel it, you know, you need to take your money or whatever you're gonna do and do something else, you know, because I mean, it's not a, I don't see no problem. We ain't even had nobody up there messing around in a while. I mean, I have called them all because they were up there on the property, stole about everything up there. And everywhere. But I don't see no reason for them to be tore down.
What are your intentions with property?
At this point, I don't know. I mean, we're just busy with our, you know, our work and I mean, we store stuff in the garage and I've got several other pieces of equipment that we park up there from our other yard. And, you know, I don't really know what I'm gonna do with it, but, you know, I might do something with it one of these days. Right now, it's just not, don't mind do nothing, but, you know, you gotta keep the taxes paid up on it. I mean, it's never been delinquent since 1977.
Justin, after your review of the properties, it's still your recommendation to,
Yes, on behalf of Chief Wright and the Jefferson Township Fire Department, who inspected the structure, and it was determined per the Ohio Fire Code, section 110, 110.1, and section 37, 37.41, that the location shall be deemed as an unsafe building for being a vacant structure, an unsecured structure per paragraph K 311 of Rule 13L1 7-7-03 of the Administrative Code with unsafe condition. Staff recommendation that the trustees find the property to be dangerous with the intent of removal.
And you're saying that it's dangerous because it's vacant
Vacant and unsecured, yes, sir.
and obscured, so we put a fence around it, we board it up.
It is boarded up.
It's currently boarded up, but if the sheriff's department is continually removing individuals from the property, then I
Okay.
argue that it's not secured enough against unauthorized entry.
You got a problem with vagrants coming in there?
We did for a little while, but we've got it all boarded up now, and they boarded it up from the inside. I don't know why. My brother had the guys come up there and they boarded it up from the inside, but it's boarded up. And there haven't been nobody up there in a long time that I know of. I personally called it, because somebody way back there, way in the back there, was cooking back there a couple of years ago. But, I mean, sure, I pay some lady, and she cuts the grass about every 2 weeks around the house. I do need to run a bush hog back through there, but I can get that done, but I mean, I don't see no fire hazard, no more than my house, that I live in personally. It's got their stuff stored in it, but I just don't see no reason to tear it down. I mean, there's a lot.
So, I mean, I don't know who scheduled this meeting. I know that I was never ever asked if I was available today at 11 o'clock. I know I was never officially told this meeting was gonna happen. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm supposed to be, are we supposed to be signing right now, yes or no to this gentleman? What are you expecting out of us? I mean, the communication prior to this meeting, as far as I'm concerned, was bad. Did anybody officially ask me if I could be here, or tell me about this meeting? The answer is no.
You got a 100-page, you just said you got a 100-page email.
About the
with
meeting,
pictures.
about the meeting, I got that.
Pictures,
Yes, I did,
pictures of the properties that were
about
discussed.
the meeting. Okay, anyway, so what, Justin, what are you expecting out of us today?
This is to include, in order to include these 24 properties in the land bank demo 2.0, this was the list that was provided to me, that these are the priority for the township to have demolished. And in order to include them in the program, they have to be declared dangerous with the intent of removal by.
So we're talking about the government program, the land bank, where we tear the buildings down.
Correct.
You're not asking the residents of this township, we're not asking these people to, the houses are vacant, more likely because there's a money issue. I mean, if they had pockets of money, the house might not be in the condition it is. So then you're asking us to tell them to tear it down, but we're not asking that. We're just applying these, we're gonna take this group of houses and apply it to this program that tears houses down. It's a little slower and molasses anyway, so it probably won't happen for a couple of years anyway.
From my understanding, they're looking to do it by the end of the year, but once we have these declared, that we'll turn it over to the land bank and they will handle the demolition from that point on.
Okay.
If this house was boarded up on the outside, you can see a difference.
That I can't speak to. I would imagine if people are still, if there's still unauthorized access to the property, they would still be considered that, but we still have being a vacant structure with unsafe conditions as other criteria for determining whether or not the property is dangerous.
And that decision is made by the fire chief?
Correct. He inspected the property.
Yeah, what did he find out, excuse me, what is he saying is unsafe about the place? I mean, I can't help somebody who comes on that property.
Right, and that's, is
I mean, I
that,
can't stand guard up there or hire a guard.
saying, he is saying just unsafe conditions.
I mean, there's two houses down that is really bad.
Right, we have 23 other properties. that
Well, I
are-
mean, I think you guys need to look harder at these other houses. I mean, my taxes are being paid and have been paid. Yeah, you guys can find another old house and tear down, but, I mean, I just don't,
I got one they can tear down.
I mean, or that house is, I mean, I ain't saying it's not in bad shape, but it is not, you know, I mean, like I say, I can't help if somebody comes on there at night and lays their head somewhere, but we haven't had no problems in a while for that. I don't think
Is
look
it-
back on the day.
I'm not a lawyer I'm not a lawyer, but by any chance, is it posted no trespassing?
No, but I can put them
So, I
up.
mean, that gives you a right, if somebody does come on, well, you got posted no trespassing, it's kind of like putting up, you tell me, don't put up a sign, beware a dog, because then you've got,
Well,
you
see, I was
something
gonna put a
liability.
cable all the way across it, and I was told I couldn't by the police, because they said if a car would come in there to turn around and run into it, they could cut their heads off.
That is true. That is true.
And so I didn't do that. I was gonna try that by keeping people out of there. You know. And, I mean, I'm not gonna put $5,000 chain link fence around the place, you know. But there's two places right beside mine, that one that's 67, 64 way down that lane. Now, you talking about an unsafe house, there's one, and there's one right beside it, where the old antique store used to be years ago, which would be two houses down. My place looks like an Oakwood house compared to that, them, I mean, I'm just stating facts. I mean, you guys,
Can you tell me east or west of which, from your
it
house?
would be west.
Thank you.
There's a big chain link fence around it, and you can't see for just the overgrowth. There's a house way back in there. And then there's another house right beside that one. Years ago, the Curies used to own it, and they had an antique store there. I mean, I try to keep the grass cut down, and I mean, I do need to run bush hog around in there where the little thickets grow back there in the back. I don't see no fire hazard at all. There's no gas on in the house, I mean, anybody's house can catch on fire, you know.
If you have no utilities, like you said, electric's not on,
No,
gas is not
the
on.
gas is off anyway, it's cut from the house completely. And I've also got a big garage here, a block garage, and it's got electric bed. Actually, we got stuff stored in it, truck parts and stuff. we run a truck company, she was going quick.
Yes.
That's where we started at up there, now we're in my mom and dad's place, now we just, after they passed away, it was willed to us.
Okay.
Was this property part of the packet that the sheriffs gave us?
Yes.
The sheriff's have been up there. I'm quite sure they've done a lot of other places.
So Justin, this list has been made, and approved by the fire chief. Are we allowed to, pull a house out of this list? Is this a complete list only, or is this, can we?
You could à la carte, so to speak. You can remove that, you will make a motion to approve, you can say all of the properties except so-and-so, or except this one, to remove it. You're going to say with the intent to remove structures contained on the property. But yes, you can remove, you can say except for, or you can state to remove properties from the list. If anyone else is in opposition, I don't know who else is going to speak in opposition of the fire chief's findings.
So the only thing, trustees, we can do is vote to accept or reject the recommendation for 6756 West Third and vote it out.
Or you can just say for, if you approve the remainder of the list, you can just say without 6756 or any of the other properties if you make that determination.
Trustees, what do you want to do with 6756 West Third?
Do you have any other people that want to speak?
Well, let's close this out. Is there any other folks here to speak about their case?
About what?
This has to do with people that got letters.
Well,
Related to this hearing.
he just said if you want to dispute it or reject it.
Yeah, what?
Yeah,
what
because
property?
I have a question, I'm sorry. My name is Sheila Back.
This is not a public hearing.
I understand that, but I'm addressing him about what you just said. My name is Sheila Back, I live at 1700 Alamo Court. I just want to find out how you came up with these addresses. Yeah, I want to know how you came up with these addresses because some of the addresses that have been reported over and over again by many residents that are
Yeah.
clearly houses that should be tore down. We're not even named on that list.
Right, this was the list that was submitted to me when I started in June.
Okay.
That as prioritized, apparently this had been, Steve, if you can
Was
speak.
submitted?
The trustees, including former trustee Back, started this list and went around on
Don't throw
Saturday.
him up under the bus, including.
And you trustees submitted these properties for us to submit to the original CDB, the Community Block Grant Program. And those were the ones that you approved by resolution back then. We've been waiting on the funding, we've been waiting on the paperwork.
Do you know what the resolution number was?
No, I do not. But you, Mr. Mann and Mr. McGuire and Mr. Back went on Saturday to every property in the township that they wanted to submit on the list, and this is what.
Oh, they did hit Derby Road? Yes, they did.
Now-
My husband made sure he pointed that out. That's not
Now-
true.
There, you have well over 100+ properties that are like this. So you go with what you had submitted. Now, the 2.0 program came along, you know, the land bank has come up with new money that wasn't available before. And you guys were explaining this, all three of you present trustees, and they allowed us to combine that funding with the existing community block funding to tear down more homes. So they stayed with the list that was submitted 2-3 years ago, that actually was applied for 7 years ago, by the former administrator and zoning officer. That was already predetermined, and you trustees determined that that list is what went forward. So there has not been a change to this list since you started your pursuit.
So also, Steve, so there are homes, you hear comments, we have homes that have been in bad shape in this township for a long period of time. Does not, to meet this list, it has to be in a certain part of town, or it has to be, I mean, you can't, or is there any home in the township available to be on this list? Okay, I'm wrong, okay, I'm sorry, okay, sorry.
So
It's
can
not,
we
it's not
add,
tied, it's not tied to our, what we call our census tracts.
That's, yes.
Yeah.
There was a list that did that at one time.
Well, no, that was a separate program
Okay,
altogether. But
thank you.
2.0 and the community block grant money is for all areas on this tear down program.
so this is just about houses that's gonna be torn down?
Correct.
Correct, and the owners keep the property.
Right, it's not an inclusive list by any means,
No.
townwide, this is just what was prioritized prior to being here, so.
So we would go through the normal process to put the name, the addresses of homes that need to be torn down. Should have been torn down.
So, part of this process, there has to be a title search done for each property in order to be included, make sure that it's free and clear and clean. If for some reason the property is disqualified from the program, there would obviously be more space for the next prioritized property.
Has that been done already or not?
That's in process, yes.
Okay,
We've had a
thank you.
few of them come back, but as you can imagine, 2000.
Yeah.
takes a while.
My last question, if they take this property off, can they add a property to?
That's the idea, we would prioritize that, and then depending on funding from the land bank program, they'll let us know, basically averaging, I'd say about $15,000 per demolition, how many we can do for that, and then, like I said, this is what was prioritized prior to me.
All right, thank you.
Hello, my name is Al Harden. I'm the owner of 5103 Altram. We have an issue with 5099 Altram. I'm curious if a decision for what's on that list and what's going to come off that list, if it could be tabled until maybe, because we may have a new set of priorities, where the priorities may have changed within that 3 to 7 year period, to where we can add more properties onto that list. I'm speaking particularly of 5099 Altram, which is an issue as far as quality of life to the other neighborhoods, because it's infested with rats and things of that nature. It also has a hole in the roof, gutters which are, in disarray. The hole in the roof, a large hole, it weakens the roof, so if there's a fire there, it's danger to firefighters coming to put out the fire. As you know, they ventilate the roof system, they go into the building, so it's a hazard to firemen as well. Also, it's vacant and unsecured, so therefore, it's a hazard to any neighborhood kids or vagrants or anything of that nature that possibly come into that building. In addition to that, it is, like I said, unsafe and unsecured. Also, it's just a general hazard to the neighborhood. A property like this is suspected of having, being a drop-off place for people that are making drug deals. There's a lot of issues with this property. And like I said, it's affecting the quality of life of the neighbors and everyone that is on that street and who reside in back of that. So I guess I ask that if you could table this list to where there may be a new set of priorities within it, because we're talking priorities 2, 3 to 7 years ago, which were priorities, which I'm still sure that they are priorities. But of course, we were working on a certain amount of funding from the land bank that has now, you just said it, that has now increased. Therefore, I would think that we should be able to increase the amount of properties that could potentially be on the list. I also understand that this property in particular has been some issues as far as bankruptcy and things of that nature. And if there's an issue as far as the title of this property, then because, is there any way to go after whoever actually owns the house, if it's the bank or somebody else, to where we could talk to them about, hey, you need to, you know, maintain this property. If not, then we may need to consider some fines or anything of that nature, to where, you know, we could put this property out of reach for them, where they be better for them to get rid of the property versus hanging on to it. So, you know, I'll be here, you know, for the meeting, so if you have any questions, or if you need me to get you some pictures or anything of that nature, you know, please feel free to contact me. We can get pictures, we can go out and take a look at it, whatever it is that, you know, that you need to do. I'm a fireman in the city of Cincinnati, so, you know, hats off to you, Chief. I understand you guys are doing an outstanding job here in Jefferson Township. And this is basically what I do for the, help with the city of Cincinnati. I'm a fire specialist, so, you know, anything you need for me to do in order to, you know, to help you with this property, you know, just let me know, and I'll see what I can do as the owner next door to this particular property. Thank you.
Now, you, understand what everybody is trying to do here. What is not understood is this is about a 2-year process to get a list of properties to this point. Step 1, the land bank has to run this through the foreclosure process and gain title to the property
No,
before we
I
can get.
need to correct you.
Okay.
This is strictly a tear down program. The landowner maintains and owns the property. This is not acquisition. You were right about the land bank's normal process, which is acquisition based on foreclosure. But that's land bank's program that's no longer in existence. It's, no funding is available anymore. This money was left over from what was received on paper 7 years ago to the township. And it's never been spent. And so we started that process, as you guys know, when I got here, to try to get spending so we can tear down those homes, because it's not our tax dollars, it is the grant money, and no one's done that. So it's taken us this long to get to this point. We thought when we started, as I mentioned, when just you two were part of it, we thought that land bank would acquisition every property, but that is not the case today. So this is strictly a tear down program. You also can add to the list. You don't have to redo or reduce. But again, as Justin explained, there's no guarantee that all 26 or 27 or 25 are going to get torn down, because no one knows what the cost is. It's an average of $15,000, but if you get into a situation where they have asbestos in the building, it has to be removed. You have lead paint in the windowsills, those have to be removed. And then a hygienist has to approve it for the county 2.0 program to tear it down. You may get into $20,000, $25,000 with hazmat removal. Some tear downs are that much for a small house, 2-bedroom house. But we may be under 15,000, you don't know. So it's whatever the land bank and the 2.0 program has for us that they will go off of your list. But you can add the property that was discussed today if you'd like to, just by adding it. And it could be on the considered list, but we have to start the process, as Justin said, the 2-year process has to start on that property.
We would have to notify property owners and holder statutory agents and have a separate hearing for that as well. They'd have to have their due process for anyone associated with the property. So we wouldn't be able to add it as a line item today to just say we want to include the property on Ultra. I'd have to start over, notify them, and go through the process, and then we have a separate hearing for that. And any other property that's identified, we can do this at any time to have a hearing or neighbors' properties as the fire chief finds them and as we identify them.
One last thing, I want to interject as well. Most of these properties have had vagrant problems, past or present, and the sheriff's department has concern about the vagrancy. And because the vagrancy continues, we get the crimes in the community. And so they obviously did not inspect the properties like they did, but we went through the list with the sheriff's department, and they've had a vagrancy problem at every one of these properties. on their records. So their concerns are it's a vacant location that more than one person has utilized in the past or utilized in the future, including cooking meth. So that's why the trustees, some 4 years ago, you guys went around and looked at, and this is the list you presented to us, and it's taken us legally this long to get to this point.
I have a question. How do you go about picking which, the property will be torn down? How long does it take and how do you go about picking, who picks it?
Trustees did that tour.
We had that discussion.
You have a tour that you go around?
We answered that question just a little bit ago, in that it's before my time. The trustees, I'm not sure where their list originated from, but they went around and looked at all these homes on this list and deemed it to be on the list.
That's what I'm talking about, because this, well, I have a house on Jordan been like this for years. And I'm wondering why it's not on that list.
I live next door to that home. My name is Tracy Jordan. I live at 5110 Derby Road. I've spoken with Mr. McLaughlin. I've spoken with you, McGuire, a couple of years ago, at least 2 years ago. I've recently spoken with Mr. Wolf, okay? Now, y'all said that this list that y'all have is from like 2 or 3 years ago. I've been inquiring about this 5100 Derby Road for at least 7 years. When Jeff Payne was here, when Lynn, I don't know what his last name is, Lynn Roberts. That's how long I've been dealing with this property next door to me. Now, I'm sure that each and every one of y'all don't live around what I live around. Now, his home, I don't know if there's other residents that live next to him. The other homes that's on there, I don't know if it's residents that live next to those homes, but me and Mr. Burton live in between this nuisance. Okay, I've been dealing with Sarah at the land bank. Y'all can call her. You guys didn't even put it on the list. Y'all y'all have the shop right on Kimberly, or Kimball, and y'all pass by this house every single day. Your employees, I ain't saying y'all, but your employees pass by this house every single day. Y'all cannot tell me that that is not a nuisance. Now, I didn't sat there in April. I put up a privacy fence. They cut down all those trees. Those trees are